Hello, friends. Welcome to Simple Stories Live. I like the way that Ginger's commenting already with a woohoo. Yeah, it's Friday. It's time to craft. It's time to kick off our weekend. Some of you are having a long weekend, which is fantastic. I hope you have some great celebrations planned to honor those who have gone before us and have sacrificed for us. And also that you may be having some time with family or having a little bit of craft time. Whatever you're doing this weekend, I hope that you're having a great Friday. Welcome, everyone, whether you're watching us on Facebook or YouTube. We're so glad you're here. I'm Jana Eubank with Simple Stories, and we love to get together every Friday and talk about how we can help you share your story simply. Now, last week we had, for the past several weeks, we've been having a 6x8 paper pad discussion, talking about all the different possibilities of things and crafts that we can make with 6x8 paper pads. And last week we talked about our snap albums, which naturally kind of transitioned into this week's topic, which is traveling and traveler's notebooks. I showed a few examples of how I've used traveler's notebooks to document my travels, but then I eventually take those things that I documented in the traveler's notebooks and transition them into 6x8 albums. And that's kind of how they connected. So I wanted to go into more detail with that today. We're actually going to make a traveler's notebook. But first, I want to say hi to all of you, my friends. Hello, Cindy. I have two Cindys on here. I have Cindy Kurtz and Smiley Cindy. I see Kim from Maryland. Hello. And of course, Ginger with our woohoo. So great to see you. All right. So let's turn it over to the desktop and I'll give you a little sneak peek of what we're actually going to be making today. So this is the traveler's notebook that we're going to be making today. It has a little bit of a tie closure and a little flap that goes over, as well as a few signatures inside. So we're going to be making that with a file folder. So be sure to stick around for that. But I wanted to show you, do a little show and tell first. I gave you some sneak peeks of this last week. And as we're talking today, I want to hear about how you document your vacations. Hi, Trisha. Hi, Cher. Cher is out camping and having a cookout on Monday. Awesome. She wants to see a mini book tutorial. Awesome. That's great to know. Yes, please tell us what you're looking for. Hi, Trisha from Michigan. Hi, Cynthia. Hi, Linda. So great to have you here. Okay, so I have several little notebooks here on my desk, and these are just a few of many that I have made as I've gone on vacations. And as I go on vacations, I want to just show you a little bit of my workflow. I am terrible at journaling, so I like to journal while I'm on my vacation. And part of the reason I started this is because I have teenagers who like to sleep in or who like to stay up late and watch movies, whatever it is. So there's some downtime in our vacation schedule. And me, I love to craft and I'm itching to craft. So I bring books and things like that. But I started bringing journals along because then I can just journal about our trip as we go. And that has helped me to use those downtimes to just kind of capture things. So each day I'll just jot a little something about what we did. Sometimes I'll write longer. This is just because I honestly have a terrible memory. And so I got into this habit. This is something my mom did. And so I'll just buy like a little notebook or I'll create one before I go. And I've done it both ways. It kind of depends on what type of trip I'm going on. So I've done a trip where I've done photos, and I'll flip through these in more detail. And I've actually taken along a little mini printer with me and printed the photos as I go. And so that, sometimes it just depends on where we're going, whether it's a cabin or we're in our trailer, or maybe we've rented a house. And so I know there's going to be more downtime than others. So let me just jump into it and show you a few of the projects. Hi, Debbie. Hi, Tia. She likes to journal as she goes on trips, but they're not as cute as mine. You know what? Every time is different. Sometimes they're not cute. So first up, I just have this little journal. This is something I bought in Hawaii, just at a little stationery store. And then I started journaling. So when I got home, I had this. And I knew when I went to create my project, I would have all the journaling details there that I wanted to work with. So from there, I printed out all my photos and I created this album using the Sunshine and Blue Skies collection. This is about 2 or 3 years old, but I just thought I'd flip through these as we talk so you can get some ideas, for your bigger albums or even for albums like this. So you can see that I type my journaling out because it doesn't fit with my handwriting. I have very big handwriting, as you can see here. That's probably the smallest I ever write. So I tend to type my journaling for vacations if I want to include a lot of things. This is an older style of pocket page that is no longer available, but we do still have our photo flips. And this is a great way to add journaling as well. So I've just, most everything in here is flat. I've just plugged in some cards. There's some portions where I want to add even more journaling. So I'll just use a 4x6 card and add some white cardstock to the back and just journal. Right here along the side is some washi tape that just adds a little bit of decoration. So even if you have scrapbook pages where you want to add more story, use this idea where you just insert a card. It makes it look really layered and really fun. And you can see that things are just really basic. You know, I've done some stamping on some cards, but really I've just used cut aparts and then some stickers and things. And I just keep everything really simple. So here are just all the pages that I've done. Here, something I like to do is to take detail shots of the scenery that we see. That's one of my favorite parts of scrapbooking is noticing just how different like the leaves are in Hawaii, right? So these are great places to have resting spots for our eyes when you have things like that. They're also great to add like a title on, like I did back here. I just layered my title right over that scenic shot. So I'll just keep flipping through here. There's nothing super fancy about this. Just photos tucked into pockets. And, you know, I didn't do any big flip outs or, you know, pages and things like that, which are really fun. And I did that in the next one. I'll show you that some more. But this was just about getting the photos in here, telling a story, adding some decoration here and there. The tabs in these binders, I've mentioned before, I didn't use it to separate anything. I just used it as an additional spot to, you know, add some journaling or add some photos. So here we'll just keep flipping through, you know, add one sticker to the journaling, that kind of thing. Hi, Joanne. Great to see you. Let's see. Cher says she has an empty copy paper box full of crafty goodness to work on while she camps. It's going to be a great weekend after a long week at work. Oh my gosh, that sounds like a blast. I want to come with you. So here's another scenic shot where I've just used our alpha stickers across the top. I knew I would need a lot of L's, so I just mixed the colors so that I could use the L's from several different colors. And then here we go. We're just getting the photos in, tucking the cards in. So that's where our element cards can come in handy. If you have a 4x6 card and you want to cut it down to fit spots, you can do that as well. So lots of fun ways to document. And here's probably the fanciest thing I did. I did a couple pockets in here. Stuck some stickers on the photos. So just pretty basic, just a couple stickers here and there. And it holds a lot of photos. And it was fun to just kind of, you know, work with what I had and just get them in a book. And of course, the fun part is adding the stickers and doing a few decorative things, but you can see that it's mostly photos. And then where I didn't have a photo to fill the whole spread, I would just pop in a card to just sort of fill that space. So this was our trip to Hawaii several years ago that we did for my daughter's graduation. Our big trips tend to be the graduation trips. And then on the off years, we kind of do road trips and camping and things like that. So I've had 3 graduates so far, and these are probably the albums that you're going to see, you know, today, because they were my favorite to put together. I still got to do some of the road trip one. So that is the first one where I've just taken really just some words and put it into an album. Now this next one, I used 2 different collections. Like this one, I started off using a traveler's notebook. And this, I think, was the first time I did this. And so I just used some letter stickers. I took along some stickers from this collection. This collection is Travel Notes. It's an older one by Simple Stories. I just used some random washi tape to kind of separate the days. And then I used a little mini printer. I know someone asked about my printers, so I'll show you what I use to print those little photos. The photos aren't great, but I was glad to have them in here because it helped me to document the 6x8 album later on. It kind of helped me keep track of the days. So this is very journaling focused. So if you love words, this is a great way for you to document because the words are the focus. The photos are still there, but they're smaller, right? I love the photos. That's why I tend to transfer these into a different album eventually. But because I kind of done this on our trip, I put some business cards of restaurants we went to so I wouldn't forget those. Because I have done them in the traveler's notebook, I don't have this like pressing guilt to get them into an album, because if I don't ever do it, then I know I've already documented it in a way, if that makes sense. So it's just fun to do. It's a way for me to be creative on the road or on the go, and just have some fun. So we'll talk about how you can set up for that. Now let's take a look at the album for this one. Now this album, I didn't design this myself. I actually took designs from our design team. So I have to give thanks to Dormar Perez. I have to give thanks to Anya Linchenko, and I have to give thanks to Sue Kendall. And then of course I added in a little bit of my flair as I went. But these were projects that I saw that they uploaded to our blog, and I just used elements from those projects that they did to help me get my album done. So this cover design was by Dormar, and I loved it. So I just copied her and put that right on the front of my album, and then I was ready to go. Now the majority of this album was designed by Sue Kendall. She did it for one of our retailer classes. And so as I created that, but I just moved things around to fix my photos. Let's see. Debbie Hill is asking, do you use a typewriter or print your journaling from your computer? So I print my journaling from my computer. I have used a typewriter. I have one, but my typewriter doesn't always grab the cards evenly. Like they get crooked, and I have to tape them onto like a piece of paper anyway. So I just started using my typewriter or my computer, and the font I use is called Prestige Elite, if anyone's wondering. So there we go. All right, so what kit is in this book? Okay, so this other one was Sunshine and Blue Skies. It's an older collection. It's probably 2 or 3 years old, but you might be able to find it out there. And then this one is Great Escape. And this one sold out. Like I don't think you can find this one anymore. However, I have some good news for you. We have a collection shipping in July called Lakeside that has a very similar vibe. So in fact, this is what I want to use to do my Alaska trip that I'm going on in a couple weeks next week, because it has all the pine trees and the fish. You can see I used it on this right here. Isn't that cute? The moose and the bears. So perfect for cabin, perfect for mountains. This is just a few of the sheets of paper. There's some toadstools. That looks very similar to the book I'm about to show you. The butterflies, the ferns. So it has a very similar vibe. And I just wanted to flip through that so you could see that real quick. Okay, so this is, again, The Great Escape, but Lakeside will be shipping in July. All right, so let's take a look through this. Again, I kept it really simple. Of course, I was just using, it was simple for me because I was using Sue's book as a pattern. And you guys, that's why we have a blog. That's why we're on social media. We want to help you to get your projects done. So don't feel guilty about scraplifting. If it helps you to get your projects done, do it. Of course, you don't want to take credit for someone else's design. Like I will always mention who helped me, and I'm a designer. I love to design, but there's times where I just want to sit down and play, and I'm sure you're the same way. And so to grab a project offline that somebody else has made and just using that as a pattern is really, really fun. So in this project, you'll see again that I've taken pictures of details like the rocks on this beach in Oregon. This is our trip to Oregon. Oh my gosh, I loved this trip so much. And I have 30 pages in this book. It's nice and chunky and big, lots and lots of photos. So you can see I just took lots of photos. If I needed to fill a spot right here, we watched this movie at the house. So I grabbed that offline and just tucked that in there so I could remember that, because we actually liked that movie. It was really cute. Right here, I adjusted Sue's design a little bit. She just had one photo, but I had several photos. So I just used our photo flips to make this little layer right here. So you could see these two photos look almost the same, these little selfies with my daughter and my husband. But there we go. We just have some fun little shots. Again, if I needed to add some journaling, I would just pop it in. I literally cut this paper out of 4x6 piece of paper, and then I just printed this on my computer and glued it on. And now I have the story right here in between these two photos. Here I have some close-ups of the beach because we were just so fascinated by the different textures and things at the beach. I used one of those photos again. I'll hold this up. And I used it as a background for a journaling card. So here's that seashell photo. I used one of the same ones again because I just love that texture, and I just glued my journaling right over the top of the picture. So there's another fun idea. You can add in some flip up things, like this was part of Sue's book, so I did that. Hello, Deb from Australia. Great to have you here. And then I wanted to point out some things that she did with the 6x8 paper pad, because there's just a few 12x12 sheets in here. So this whole fold out thing right here is 6x8 paper. And all she's done is scored the edge and then made this awesome big fold out. So we found this park that had all of this great greenery, and we just sat there and just took photos together. It was so fun. So I had a million photos, and so I thought this would be a great spot to use that fold out. Now right here, what she's done, in fact, let me pull it out of the book, is this is a 6x8 paper, but on the end, she has folded a piece of the 6x8 paper. It's probably like a 3x8, and sandwiched the piece in between it to make the binding just a little bit longer so that the page wasn't too short. So she's done that throughout the book, and I thought that was a fantastic way to use those 6x8 papers. And here you are making this really fun, interactive element right here. Hi, Jennifer. Hi, Miley. So here's some more things. Now, the thing I will take credit for, I know this is lame, is I added in some little punched ferns. Oh, I'm so creative. But literally, I just used one punch throughout the entire thing. In fact, you can see it here. And I thought, okay, I'll just add little ferns all the way throughout. So that was my touch. This page right here was actually the cover of Sue's book. So I just used it on one of the dividers and just copied her design. So really fun. Again, more close-up shots, get some far away shots of just the scenery, and then fill in with your cards. You can add stickers right on top of the pocket page. See, that is right on top of the pocket page. So if you have a photo that you don't want to stick stickers onto, stick them on your pocket page, and then you preserve the photo right there. Here's some more close-ups of greenery and just fun shots. Here's another page that Sue made with the 6x8 papers. Again, she created that folded binding, and then she folded a piece of the 6x8 paper to create this 4x6 pocket, but she made it a little longer by sandwiching that pocket in between this folded piece. So now there's this great spot to just add, a bunch of extra photos that don't necessarily, they're kind of repeats of other ones, but I still want them in there, right? And then I can use that space where there was probably a photo meant to go there, but I just used that as part of the story. So we'll just keep going. You can use the tops of your flaps to add stories. And we'll just keep going. This one, I only had one on this side, so I just filled in with all the cards. Super cute. And that's what's so fun about those cut apart pieces. Now this one, I wanted to point out, I totally messed up stamping on it. So I just stamped it on another sheet of paper and then glued it right over the top. And you hardly even know, you probably wouldn't even notice that, except for I pointed it out. So, don't be afraid if you make a mistake. Just keep going. Just get your memories in a book and have fun. Here's another one of those pages where Sue has folded the piece and sandwiched that 6x8 paper in there. So she's doing really creative things to use those 6x8 paper pads. So we'll just keep going. Hopefully this isn't boring. I love looking at other people's books. So again, I love mixing in the scenic shots, the textures that you notice. Here's a pocket that she's made with the 6x8 paper pad. Again, sandwiching that in between a little folded piece to make it just a little bit longer to match the width of the pocket pages. So lots of great ways to utilize your scraps even. Again, here, utilize a scrap of a paper and just add some journaling in between all the photos. And we'll just keep going. We're almost done. This page was by Anya Lunchenko. I can't remember if that was on the front of a mini album she did or on the blog, or if it was actually a card, but I just thought it was so pretty how she used our chipboard frames. So I'm like, you know what? Instead of trying to think of something, I'm just going to use Anya's design because Our designers are brilliant. And so I'm so thankful for them and how they inspire me. And it, made my project come together really quickly. And it was just fun because I wasn't stressing about, well, gosh, what do I do here? So again, more designs from Sue, and then another pocket here on the end where she did a big tag. There's some journaling on the back. And then the final shot was we got locked out of our house when we got home, which was interesting. And then I always kind of add a pocket in the back of my albums. This is a 6x8 piece because sometimes I'll collect little brochures and things like that. And then I just kind of tuck them in the back. And then I have everything together. All right, so Vicki is asking any recommendations for a mini portable printer. So she has a Sprocket, but it's just too small. So for these ones, I print all my pictures at home, and I use the PictureMate 400. I also have an Epson 8500. I love them both. Now, that's what I use in my books. For my traveler's notebooks photos, they're not great pictures. I actually use like a Sprocket. They're not great, but it's fun to do on the go. In fact, for those of you who haven't seen that, I brought my two little printers out so you could see them. They're super small. They just fit in this little carry case. So this one is the Canon Ivy. It's like the size of your cell phone. I wish I could take my cell phone down. Actually, I have a spare cell phone over here. This is a standard size cell phone, so you can see how it compares. So these are older. I've had these for a while. And so, but you can see how they are in comparison. And you know what? The pictures aren't great, but it's so fun. You can just print from your cell phone and then add those to your traveler's notebooks. The other one I have is the LG, what is this one called? This one's older too. So I don't know, the models have changed. And so you'll just, you can watch YouTube videos and find, in fact, that's a photo I printed today. It's very yellow. It's not even a good quality photo, but it's just fun to kind of do on the go if you want to do something that's a little bit creative. But if you want nicer photos for your final one, I would suggest an Epson PictureMate 400. That's my very favorite. It does up to a 5x7 photo. And then if you want larger than that, I have an Epson 8500. I'm sure that's an older model as well, but I love it as well. I've had HPs and Canons in the past, and I don't know. I've had problems with them, and I just keep going back to Epson. Okay, so a few more of these traveler's notebooks. I'll just kind of flip through them. Now, you saw my first one where I just kind of used stickers and wrote. Well, the next time I did it, I started to use like washi tape. So I'd put a different color washi tape on the different days. So this is an older collection by Simple Stories called Cabin Fever, super cute. So anytime the day changed, I would change the washi tape across the bottom. So you could tell that. And then I would also use all the stickers. And I started doing stamping ahead of time. This is actually stamped on like a sticker paper. I just would do day 6, day 5, day 4, and just stick those in as we went. There's a little bumper sticker I got at Jackson Hole and just tucked in there. It's temporary, so I can pull it off and put it in my album when I go to do that trip. Here's one I did with the Cruisin' collection. I still need to do this line or do this album as well. But I cut apart the 12x12 stickers and took them with me. I took some bits and pieces, and then every day I would just go around the cruise ship and either do it at night. Like, my kids would go and want to watch like a little concert or a movie or something, and I would bring my stuff and I would sit there and scrapbook and write. So it was really, really fun. Okay, any questions? Joanne's saying she just bought that printer and need to set it up. Yes, it's great. The albums, are you talking about these albums, the snap binders? So these snap binders are by Simple Stories. They're the 6x8 snap binders, and you can find them at any of your favorite retailers. Okay, so are you ready to make a traveler's notebook? So I don't know if this workflow will work for you, but give it a try. If you want to do some creative things on the go, take a little traveler's notebook with you and try journaling the first time around. It's really fun. And then you've got your journaling all ready to go, and then you can just play with your products when you get back. Now, there's a couple of ways you can do a traveler's notebook. This first one, I already showed it to you already. I literally just used some pattern paper from the collection. I just folded it in half, and then I added in some dot grid paper that I bought like at Michael's. So I cut it down to fit whatever size I wanted. And I think this is, I'm guessing this is an 8 by 5. It's about 8 1/4 by 5. I don't know if that's I think I did that to go inside my traveler's notebook thing, but I just folded it, and then I took it, if you have a long arm stapler, you can just staple it in the middle. Now, my dad happens to own a copy store, so that's kind of handy. He has what's called a saddle stitcher or a saddle stapler, and it's a triangular stapler that you kind of put your book on like this. So you could ask your local copy store if they have one, and then it just has a powerful electronic staple that went through all those layers. And let's see how many I put in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I put 13 sheets in there, but yeah, I had some extra room. So that was a full week, and I didn't use the whole thing. So I could have got by with probably, 6 sheets. So you could use a long arm stapler to do that, or a saddle stitcher. But today I thought we would make one like this, because one thing I thought that's kind of fun when I go on trips is to you've noticed that I grab like little business cards or bumper stickers or things like that. So I have used a white file folder to create this, and it has a pocket on the inside. And then I've actually stitched in just really simple signatures of 4 sheets of paper folded, and I've just used a pamphlet stitch, or pamphlet. I think that's called a pamphlet stitch. Oh, thank you, Darlene. She says you love my handwriting. Thank you so much. So we are going to make this today if you want. So let's pull out our trimmer and a file folder. Now, I bought the white file folders just on Amazon, but you can use manila. You can look for file folders at secondhand, like thrift stores. People dump them there all the time because people are keeping their files on the computer now, right? So they're not using they're cleaning out their offices, and they're not using file folders as much. So here's what this is just your standard 9 by 12 or whatever it is, your standard file folder, but this one came in white, and I just bought a whole entire box of them because I love messing around with them. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut this. Don't worry about what tab you have because we're going to cut this off. But we are going to cut it to 8 1/4 inch high. And I have some little instructions to keep me on track, so I'll pop that up. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut the folder to 8 1/4 high. And I'm going to flip it over to the folded edge just so I have a straight edge for me to work from. So we're going to move that to 8 1/4. Now, I suggest a guillotine cutter like the one I'm using, because when you're going through multiple layers like we are today, that is the kind of trimmer that is going to help you get a nice crisp cut. Okay, so save this. You can use this to make tags, but we're actually going to use it as to mark our holes in a minute. So I'm just going to hang on to that. Now, the next thing I'm going to do, if you noticed in the sample that I showed you, let me close this so I don't bump it, that one side is longer. So the spine right here is actually going to be the part of the folder that folds right here. The little, you know how you see those little 3 lines that are adjustable? I can't get a good shot of that. There we go. That is going to be our spine right here. So what I'm going to do is the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the file folder, and there's kind of a shape to it. Do you see that little curve? And then, of course, I've cut off the bottom. So we're just going to put this in the trimmer, and we're going to we're going to keep it as long as we can and just go to that little corner where there's that little bump. Yes, Vicky, this video will be on replay. So after we finish going live, this will be on our YouTube channel. You can also find it on our Facebook page. It's just a little easier to find on YouTube because on Facebook, it gets kind of buried with the posts. Okay, so same thing with the other side. We're going to open it up. Don't worry about this. We're going to cover that printed thing with some pattern paper, but we're going to go to the very bump and we're going to cut this as long as possible. So I'm going to just tuck it in here, go as long as I can, and then just cut that off. So I have a piece that looks like this, where one side is longer and one side is shorter. This is the side that I'm going to use for the little folded flap that's going to wrap around. And then this shorter end, we're going to fold in and create our pocket with. So that is the first step. Let me move this out of the way. We'll need this again in a second. We'll just slide those off. Now the next thing you're going to need is a scoring tool. Now, first, before we do any scoring, we're going to adjust our spine. We want to use all three of those ends for the end or our spine of our book. So I'm going to fold it a second time where those 3 folds are. Hopefully you can see that. And that's about 3/4 of an inch. So that's what I've done there. Now I'm going to take my folder and I'm going to bump up the spine that I've just folded up to the edge of my scoring tool. And I'm going to score 5 inches from the edge of my spine. So I just have to make sure that that folded edge, and we're going to do this on both sides, and that's going to create our front and back cover. So we're going to bump that up to the guide, and I'm going to find the 5-inch mark, and I'm just going to score that at 5 inches. Okay. Now I'm going to flip it around, and this time I got to make sure I fold my spine up, and I'm lining that bottom one up against the guide, and then I'm going to go 5 inches from that spine. Amazon's going to love me because you guys are all buying white file folders now, aren't you? All right. So here we have that one. So the shorter one will get folded in like this, and that's going to be our inside pocket where we're going to add our bumper stickers or our business cards or whatever little ephemera we collect while we're out on our trip. It's just a fun little tuck spot. We're not going to adhere that yet, but we do want to come back over to this 5-inch. Remember we did this 5-inch one, and this is the long one. But this one we're going to fold again, but we need to add another little spine, like a second spine, that will wrap around. Now on this one, I did the exact same width as this. This is 3/4 inches, and I kept it square, so this side is 3/4 inches. The one that we're going to put together today, where did I put it? I did it a little smaller on the right-hand side. I did it at 1/2 inch. So this end is 3/4 inch, and this side is a 1/2 inch. Totally depends on whatever you want. So if you want it to be square, make it square. If you want it to have a little bit of a taper, then do it smaller. And of course, you can adjust these measurements to whatever you want to do. So for this one, I'm going to do the taper just like I'm going to do on the sample, and I'll do it at 1/2 inch. So let's fold these two. This will be our wraparound spine on the right-hand side. And that's just going to protect our pages. And I just thought it would be a fun detail to add. Just something a little different than just a folded book. Okay, so this will be our pocket and our front cover. And then this will wrap around and have our closure on the front with a little button wrap. And that's where we're at right now. So the next thing you need to do is you are going to cut pattern paper panels to fit on all of these panels. Now, on this one, you can use 6x8 paper because we've been talking about 6x8 paper pads, and you'll get a little bit of a bigger border because it's 8 1/4 inch high. If you use an 8-inch high border, you're going to have about 1/8 of an inch all around. So just measure your panels and make those fit. Now, on the sample one, I use 12x12 paper, so I have smaller borders. I don't know if you can see that. They're like 1/16 of an inch. So it just depends on your personal preference or what pattern papers you might be working with or using up. Okay, so now we can move this out of the way. And I'm realizing my desk is white, which might make this a little hard to see. Hopefully you can see that okay. So we've cut pattern papers panels to fit, and now I'm going to bring in the other sample, and we're going to keep working. So I've adhered some of those panels on. I've actually rounded the corners of this flap as well as the panel that went into place, and I've just adhered those. Let me tuck these things aside, all on the inside. So the few spots that I have not added pattern paper, this one I should have left off, but if you want to do your button closure, don't add this one yet. You're going to want to stitch your button on and then add the paper so that you can hide the backside of the stitching. And here's the example on this flap. So I did the front side, I stitched the button on there, and now I can come back in with this little panel and hide that wrong side. Now, you don't have to use buttons. You can use other things. You can use magnets. You can use like just a ribbon, tie a ribbon all the way around it. So let's go ahead and adhere this panel into place over that button. And then we're going to talk about the spine and we're going to talk about the pocket. So I'm just using some liquid adhesive. This one is Art Glitter Glue. It does not have glitter in it. I love this glue. It's fantastic. It dries really fast, but it has the hold of like a hot glue. I hear some people like to use Barely Arts glue, that it's very similar. It's also similar to like, what's it called? Tombow Mono. Tombow Mono to me is very sticky if you get it on your fingers. So I love that glue. It's just, to me, it's super sticky. So I tend to reach for this one. I have both. Okay, so I've covered out that button. And now let's talk about our pocket. We'll come back to our spine. I have not adhered the spine in place yet, and I'll tell you why. We have to do some measuring. But let's work on our pocket. So I've stitched this button on, and then I've covered the backside with that panel. And that's so that as I slide things in and out of this pocket, it's not going to get hung up on that button. So for the pocket, I've just used a 1.5 inch circle punch to notch the center of this pocket. And now I want to add my panel. I have my panel right here, but I don't know where to notch it exactly. So I'm going to show you a little trick. We're going to temporarily add this. I just put a little couple of dots of glue or tape adhesive right there, and I'm going to temporarily add it to my pocket where I think it's going to fit. And then I'm going to open it like this, and I'm going to take a pencil or a pen. I'm going to use a pen so you can see what I'm doing. A pencil won't show up. And I'm just going to trace that half circle. So now I can pull that off. And I remember I used a 1.5 inch circle punch to notch it. Now I'm going to grab a 1 3/4 inch circle punch. I'm going to turn it over so I can see my little window. And I'm going to center that over around there to give it a little bit of a border. And then I'll just take a bite. And now, when I glue my panel on, it will have a nice even border all the way around. So let's go ahead and add that into place. So Cher is in her RV right now. Oh my gosh, how fun. Rhonda's saying cute. Thank you so much. I love going in RVs. So I grew up, my family had RVs growing up, and oh, we went everywhere. My dad had 3 jobs growing up, and what he would do is he would line up all of his vacation all at the same time, and we would take like 3 weeks off and just go travel all over the country. It was so fun. Now, granted, we did get in fights because it was a long time to be together in a little small motorhome or trailer, but we have some fantastic memories. Okay, if I would glue this on straight, then it would look a lot nicer. So let me make sure I get that in the right spot. There we go. Hi, Natalie. Great to see you. All right, so Cher headed out. She's going to come back and watch it on replay. So now that I have my pocket done and I have my inside liner piece done, I can add adhesive to the top and bottom edges of this pocket. And then I can close it up and I have a great little tuck spot again for my ephemera, my business cards from restaurants, my brochures, just little things I want to hang on to for when I start to memory keep. Okay, next thing is we are going to mark where we're going to pamphlet stitch our pieces. So this folder is 8 1/4 inches high. So I have marked this in 3 places. I have marked it at the center mark, which is 4 1/8, and then I've gone 3 inches down from that and 3 inches up from that. And we're going to add 3 signatures into our album. Now, signatures are a group of folded sheets of paper, and that's what we're going to do next. Now, a little tip. Before we poke the holes with a paper piercer, one thing you should know is that when you poke through something, the back side of that poking is going to it's going to stick out. And so I don't want that to happen on the outside of my book. I want to hide that on the inside of my book. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just taking a foam pad and I'm going to poke the holes, but I'm not going to poke them all the way through. I've already added my liner piece or my panel piece on the back. So I'm just going to use the very tip of my paper piercer and I'm just going to go through a little bit, just enough so that you can't even see that, but just enough so I can see where it is on the other side. So I'm going to just do that on all of these little marks that I've made, just a little tiny poke. Don't go all the way through because you don't want a big divot on the other side. So I'm going to make sure I can see those. Let's see, one of them needs to go, I need to go a little more, this one. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my panel piece over the dots, and then I'm going to flip it over and punch them from the outside so that the majority of the dimple, or not the dimple, I don't know what to call it, the nub will be on the inside of the book instead of the outside. It will just look a little nicer. So let's go ahead and add this panel piece. Let's see, Maria's going to bed. Good night. I'm so glad you joined us from Puerto Rico. That's so awesome. Stop by and watch the replay tomorrow when you have some rest. Let's see, Heather is asking, do you think the paper would stick if you put it on after attaching all the signatures? Then the thread wouldn't be seen. You know, I think it's so narrow of a piece, and then this thread is kind of thicker that it might not stick. But you could always create like a wrap around it, and that might help a little bit. I just think that narrow piece might not have enough coverage or enough landscape, I guess, enough places to grip to go over that thread. That's just my thinking. Okay, so now I'm going to come back from the other side and I'm going to poke these going into the book. Now there's some fun things you can do with a pamphlet stitch like this. You can add charms to the strings. I'm going to show you what the strings look like before we stitch them on my other sample. Let's see right here. So this is what it looks like. And if that bothers you, like I said, you could do a wrap with like an additional piece of paper to cover that. But you can also have fun. You can add little ribbons tied on here or charms hanging off of here, or, you know, do something interesting. Maybe tie them together in little gathers and do some cute things like that. I'm sure you can find some ideas online. Okay, so now I have all of my holes punched in here and I'm ready to add my papers. We still need our paper piercer. And now I'm going to grab some paper. Now the paper I like to use, I know I brought my paper. At least I think I did. Maybe I left it in another room. Where is it? You guys, I may have to run in the other room real quick. Okay, I will be right back. I will play, how about I play a little video? I'll play a little video while I run and get my paper. That's terrible. I thought I had it with me. Okay, here is a little commercial. All right, I'm back. I went and got it. I hope you enjoyed that little commercial about our card kits. Okay, back to our desktop. So the paper that I like to use is like a color copy paper, like a laser paper, not your standard copy paper. It has a little bit of a smooth texture to it, and I just love how it feels when I'm writing on it. So that's why I get this. It also is a little heavier. It's called like a 24-pound laser, but it actually feels more like a 60-pound offset if you're familiar with paper weights at all. So I have 4 sheets of paper here, and I'm going to cut this down. Now remember, our book is 8 1/4 inch high, so I'm going to cut this to 8 inches. And then if I double the width, I need to cut it to 9 1/2, but I'm actually going to cut it after I fold it. I'm not going to cut it at 9 1/2. I can if you prefer, but I'm going to fold them all at the same time. And then I'm going to actually cut it to, our book is 4 or 5 inches wide. So I'm going to cut it to 4 3/4. Now I had like I'll just use this. This is a scraper, but I'll use it for that. Okay, so I've made my folds nice and tight. And now I'm going to put this in at 4 3/4. And because I have this guillotine cutter, it's going to cut through those 4 sheets. It will struggle a little bit, but I'm going to get a nice crisp cut. And the reason I do that is sometimes you'll notice when you fold papers inside each other, the inside ones will stick out a little bit further. So if you trim it after you folded it, you're going to have a nice crisp edge. So that's the reason I do that. Oh, awesome. Debbie said, or Dandy says, this reminds me of intermission at the movies. Totally dated myself. Hey, yeah, I remember those too. And Vicky went and bought the Sunshine and Blue Skies DigiKit. Awesome. It's a really fun line. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to punch our holes for our signature. So this book will use 4 signatures. This is what a signature is. And again, just a reminder, I have 4 sheets of paper. So I believe I made a little graphic. Yes, they're 9 1/2 inches wide by 8 inches, but I folded it and then cut it at 4 3/4. 4 sheets in each signature. Okay, so we're going to grab our book. And do you remember that spare piece of folder that we notched or we kept? We're going to line that up with the top of our book, and we're going to make ourselves a little template. This is kind of just a resourceful way to mark our holes. So sometimes the holes aren't exact, so I like to use what I actually poked instead of the measurements, just to make sure it will line up. So I've made a little mark at each of those spots that I have poked the holes in my book, lining the top edge up with the top edge of the book. Now I can take this, I can place it inside of my signature. I'll get that lined up to the top of my book. And now I can take my pokey tool and I can poke it right into the fold, right where that mark is. So I did my first one. Now I'm going to line up the second one right there in the fold and push it through. And then I will do the last one. Of course, you can do more holes if you like, but 3 works just great. So that's what we're going to do today. So after I've done that, I'm ready to stitch it into my book. And I'll show you how to do pamphlet stitch. So there's fancy bookbinding thread out there like linen or like waxed linen thread. We're just using embroidery floss today. It totally works. It's no problem. Now the waxed thread will be a little bit tighter, and if you're doing a fancier stitch than a pamphlet stitch, then you may want to do that. But for this, it's going to be just fine. So we have our holes, and I'm going to put this into our last row of holes. So I'm going to start in the middle. I'm going to poke my needle through, and I'm going to go through to the back of the book, and then I'll just pull my thread through. And I'm going to leave a little bit of an end because I'm going to tie this into a knot or into a bow, whatever I prefer. So now I'm going to come back. I'm going to go to the top hole here. I'm going to thread it through my spine. And then I can thread it through my signature. Whoops, it fell out of, there we go. This is a little tricky, but just take your time. And then we're going to thread that in through that hole. So we're going to come up through the top hole. So we went down through the center, up through the top. And we'll pull that tight. There's the thread. Now we're going to go all the way to the bottom, all the way to the very bottom hole, and thread that through. So you're going to need a long enough thread to do that. Just make sure you're keeping it tight. Don't pull it too tight because you don't want to tear your book. And then we're going to come up through the same center hole that we did in the beginning. This time we're going to come up on the other side of the thread so that the tail is on one side and then the piece that we're pulling through is on the other. So let me make sure I didn't get a knot in that anywhere. And now I can just tie this into a knot or tie it into a bow. Sometimes it's fun to have a cute little bow in there. And that's it. That's how easy it is to add your signature to your book. Now you can do more holes if you feel like you want it to be more secure and just kind of weave in and out. There's lots of videos online to show you different stitches. Super fun. I'm going to leave that as a bow. I think that looks cute. Then I can always make it a knot if I feel like it's in my way later. And there we go. We have one signature. Now you would just repeat that 2 more times. And I don't think I punched that correctly. There we go. I thought it was poking out the top, but it's not. It's not centered. I didn't do a very good job on that. But it works. Okay, so what you would do, hopefully my other one looks a little nicer. Let's go check. Yeah, I did better on that one. I don't know what I did on that. I must have did something funny. Okay, so now once you have your book all put together, you can close it up. And the way that I close it up, I stitched those 2 buttons on, is I just took a piece of twine. You're just going to wrap it around one button. You can tie it in a knot if you want. I didn't. I just wrapped it around twice. And then you can wrap it around the other button to keep it closed. You can go in a figure 8 pattern. You can just wrap it like this, and just reminds me of the old bank envelopes, and that will keep it closed. So that's our book, but I want to show you some fun ways that you can decorate. So a few things you can do. Now that I have my book all ready to go, this is what I would take with me on my trip. I would take a pen. I would take this. I showed you this before, but I have a sticker paper and I save all of the little offcuts. So like if I'm making something out of sticker paper, I will save the edges. And this is what I use it for. I will stamp the day 1, day 2. And so day 1, I know when I go to write is going to go right there. Because I'm going on a cruise, I know that I can put arrival there. And then I can add my washi tape. I can bring along my washi tape. And do you remember how I showed you I would use a different color for each of the days? So because I already know that day 1 is going to be on this front page, actually this is the last signature, then I would go ahead and add that strip and just bring those with me in a little pouch. You can add my little pre-stamped ones. This alphabet set is from the Boho Baby line. If you like that alphabet, super cute. And then some other things you can do. The other thing I would pack would be a sticker book. So our sticker books have all these different stickers that you could use to decorate your pages on the go. So I have my sticker book, this. I can tuck my washi tape. I can tuck these little pre-stamped days right here in my pocket. So they're ready to go. I can also bring bits and pieces, super small, to take along with me. Of course, I would pre-stamp my titles, so I won't need to bring that, but I just have these little items and a black pen and my little printer, and I'm ready to go. So how much thread, Rhonda's asking how much thread do you need to do the pamphlet stitch? So for each signature, you're probably going to need about a yard. You're going to want to do double the height of your piece. And then, you know what? I bet I put this in upside down. That's probably why it's not lining up. But because it's not glued, I'll just take it out and restitch it. So about a yard, probably a little less, but and then enough to tie a bow or a knot. So the other thing that I thought would be fun to do ahead of time would be to do some stenciling. So here's this really cute stencil from this Let's Go collection. It looks like a city map. So I thought it'd be fun to take it. You could take your inks. Now I don't have all the fancy brushes that stampers have. I just have one from the dollar store. But I'm just going to use this little brush and my stencil. And I can just add some light pattern onto a corner or along the top or bottom. Just add a little bit of color. This is something I can write right over with my pen. And it just adds a fun little detail right there along the bottom. So in fact, let's go ahead and decorate this like we would if we were going on a trip. So I got a little bit of stenciling. I could do that ahead of time, just kind of do it every so often on the sheets of paper. I like to add my patterns washi along the bottom. That's just something I like to do to kind of differentiate the days of our trip. I can grab my day one. This is just a crack and peel sticker paper. So you just bend the back. You can add that to the top. I know that we're going to be arriving that day and getting on the ship. So I can add that, the arrival sticker paper that I made. And now I'm going to grab my bits and pieces or my things. And I know that it's the day of the arrival. So how fun would it be to do these little airplane stickers, the airplane windows? So I could put one right there. I could put a little geotag sticker up here. I'll probably write the date in here. So let's see, that would be, I don't know what date it is, but let's just pretend. So May 30th, 2022. I could box it out if I want. And then down here at the bottom, because I'm arriving, let's do a little pink car. And a little piece of luggage. I probably should have layered that behind that car. That would be cuter. That's okay. I'll layer the suitcase next to it. Then I like to have a little bit of text. So let's find one of these cute words. This one says a family trip. So we'll add that there. Super quick, super easy. Now I can write about my day, write about the funny things that happened, the places that we ate. I can write right on top of that stenciling right there, and I'm ready to go. So you guys, what did you think? Do you think you're going to give this a try? Or are you going to make a traveler's notebook and take it on your next trip? Let's see what you guys keep saying. Did you say that it is a printer? Yes. Okay, I'm going to go through each of these comments. Catherine is asking, is that a printer? Yes. In fact, if you want me to show you how it prints, I'm happy to do that. So this is a little teeny tiny printer. I have two of them. This is the LG. It's an older one. So it just has this little paper that pops out. And it's zero ink. So the ink is actually in the paper. And I'll tuck this in there. And while I answer the other questions, we're going to print a photo and you can see how it works. Oh, actually, I can't. You know why? Because on my phone is filming. I didn't think that through. Okay, but what happens is you send it from the app. Let me just change it to my desktop. You send it through the app. I didn't even show you. I thought I had it on the desktop view, but you load the paper right here. So zero ink. The ink, it's a heat thing, I guess. And so you tuck that in there, and then once you send the photo through, it just comes right out like a Polaroid camera used to, and then you have these pictures. Now, you can use an app that helps you put more than one photo on a page. So if you want to cut it up into the teeny tiny photos, I showed you that's where I would do like 4 on a page like this. And then you can see how you would get 4 little teeny tiny photos out of this one. And then that's just the little printer I use. It's not like a fantastic high quality printer, but it's really fun to do on the go. So I'll turn that off. Sorry, I was going to print one for you, but then I forgot my phone was actually filming. Okay, so Smiley Cindy is asking, Jana, keep in mind you will be turning your pages around, so this will become the top. It's true, but you know what? I'll just make a new one. You're so great. Kay Rhonda says, tip for washi tape, use wax playing cards to take washi tape along. I love that. That's a really good idea without the bulk. Another fun thing you can do is there's the tags paper or like the 3x4 cards that come with the collection. So if you want to be all cute and coordinated, you could like laminate one of those cards and then you could put your washi tape around one of those so that you don't have the bulk of these little tapes in there. Let's see what other tips you guys have for us. See, Vicky is saying, cute. When I start adding stickers, washi, etc., it's just like I stuck a bunch of stuff randomly. Is that something you need to get over? Yeah, just have fun. It's okay if it's random. Like that's part of the fun is exploring and doing it. And remember, this is just a traveler's notebook, and the words are going to be the focus. So you just have fun. That's what it's supposed to be. It's a way to be creative on the go. So don't stress over it. You're good. Let's see. Darlene is saying, love it. We'll have to make this. Yay. I'm so glad. Daddy's going to create one. Maria's going to make one. Awesome. You guys, let's see. Tia's off to travel to Boise for the weekend. That's awesome. You guys, I hope you enjoyed seeing this. I hope you will give the Traveler's Notebook a try. It's a lot of fun. Go grab a random file folder from your office and make one. Why not? Give it a try. And then if you, the great thing is if you don't get to recording your trip, it's already done for you. And then if you want to make it into a bigger album, you have all of the details in one little spot. You can tuck all the cards and things there. You have a photo reference, and it's just a fun thing to do. Awesome, you guys. I'm so glad that you joined me today. I hope you enjoyed learning how to make your own traveler's notebook. Again, you don't have to do it exactly like this. You could do it whatever way works for you. Thank you for joining me today. I had a blast. Now, just a reminder that we won't be here next week, the next couple of weeks, because I will be on my trip. It's the beginning of summer. I'm sure you're busy as well. But be sure to subscribe and follow us if you want to know when our next live will be. So if you subscribe to us on YouTube, our name on YouTube is Simple Stories TV. That's our channel name. And then just click the little bell next to it and you will get a notification of when we schedule our next live. And then we can hang out together again. You guys have a fantastic day. Have a fantastic weekend. Again, my name is Jana Eubank with Simple Stories, where we love to help you to share your story simply. See you next time.